Hello, welcome back to our Extra Foundations tutorial series. This is episode 6, where we're going to be looking at the ship info panels inside the map. So, I'm working with the same set of ships that we had in the previous tutorial. But now, we're going to be looking at how we can control these guys a little bit more closely, in a little bit more detail. There's two information panels that we can use. They're essentially identical, but you can have two separate ships selected and two different panels showing up. So I like to use the one on the right just because it stays uncluttered over on that side. And so we're just going to do that. So we're going to look at our Discover Vanguard, and we're going to click on this info panel right here. And like I said, I can also do it over here, but then it eats up what I'm showing on the screen over here, and I don't like doing that. So we're going to use the one on the right. What does it show us here? It shows us a whole bunch of stuff. It's got the name of the ship, which we can change here to Stop Looking at Me. There we go. So now his name is Stop Looking at Me. It says who owns it, where it's located, the model of the ship, who produces it, so which factions can produce that ship, what the ship type is, how heavy its hull is, how much, basically how much damage it can take, its shield, max speed, the amount of output it can do with its weapons, both in burst and sustained, its weapon and turret ranges, its crew skill, radar range, boarding attack strength. So crew skill is divisive. I'll talk about that in some detail later on, but basically it's a 5-star system. More stars is better. The crew that have higher stars, especially the pilots, will move faster, they'll make decisions faster, they'll make better decisions. But it takes a long time to build up that number of stars. So a lot of people will use mods that make that go faster. I don't like to do that because I like to keep them kind of how they are. But if you're finding it frustrating when you're controlling ships that they're not doing exactly what you want, or they're taking too long to respond, you may want to use a mod to boost up those star levels, because one of the ways that the crew skill works is that every switch between actions, every decision it makes, the time between actions depends on its skill level. The higher the skill level, the faster it will make the next step in its decision-making process. So that's the big thing. All right, radar range, boarding attack strength. If we've got ships that have a lot of crew on them that we can use to board other ships and attack, that'll show us the strength.
Awaiting orders.
Oh, my katana has found where he's going. He's all good. Wait, no, stop. There we go. All right, and then we can talk about we'll see the pilot.
Awaiting orders.
Oh, stop it. The pilot is me, because that's Val Selton. My combined skill is always 5. The player is always skill level 5. He's got 2 subordinates. He doesn't have a current order. I can show a transaction log for his finances in terms of buying and selling if he's a trading ship. And his storage, what he's got in his hold. Right now, this little ship only has 540 cubic meters of storage space, but bigger ships will have more, and transport ships will have even more. Okay, so next up is crew. Val Selton is me. I'm 5 stars across the board for everything. And I have 2 subordinates. No current order and no orders queued. And I currently have no inventory on the ship. Inventory, like I mentioned, I think maybe first or second episode, inventory is not the same thing as cargo. Inventory basically goes in your backpack and doesn't take up space. And it only exists on the pilots. So it'll either be stuff that you have in your pocket or stuff that your pilots have picked up. And so you can go and collect it from them if you want. But it'll show here if they have inventory. Right now we don't, because we haven't really done anything. So we have no inventory.
Requesting immediate backup.
Next up is the loadout. This is showing what guns we have. Weapon configuration. How it's set up in its fire groups. What kind of ammunition we're using for our missiles, if we have them. and then it will show us our subordinate control. So now that we have set the alpha group and the beta group, we can come in here and change it around. So let's say we want to turn alpha group into an attack group. Now it's an attack group. And let's say we want this katana to be on defense. Now it's on defense. The other options here are interception, which I described, bombardment, and follow. Follow is what it sounds like, just basically follow. And bombardment is designed mainly for attacking big ships and for attacking stations. So it will prioritize using its missiles and bombs and things like that. Ammunition, dumbfire missiles currently have 19 out of 20 because I did fire one. Now I'm going to fire another one. Now we're at 18 light dumbfire missiles out of a capacity of 20. How many countermeasures do we have? We have 4 flares on board, which is shown right here, the number of flares that we have available. And we have 10 satellites available to be deployed out of 50 slots for deployables. There's other kinds of deployables like laser towers, nav beacons, and so on. So we have 10 satellites. And we can deploy a satellite if we want. Let's deploy a satellite. Now there's a satellite here. And when we zoom out, we'll see this is the range of what the satellite can see. So if we move away from here, this satellite will continue to see what is inside its range. So it will know about these mammoths. It will know about this Cerberus carrier, and you'll be able to see them flying by. If we had the satellite closer to the wharf, if the satellite were, say, right here, picking up the wharf, it would also maintain fresh information on the prices available at the wharf for buying and selling things. Right now, it will only hold that information for a number of hours of actual proper hours, not just like some fake in-game hours, like actual hours. So it's not as necessary, not as crucial as it might seem to have satellite coverage on everything. But it will hold for a number of hours and then it will fade away and you will not have accurate information anymore. But if you have a satellite nearby that is within range of it, like that it sees it, then it will maintain correct information all the time. Okay. Then finally here is our loadout, which shows all of our equipment on our ship, our weapons, our shields, our travel engine, thrusters, and so on. Next up is the logbook, which just basically says what has happened to the ship recently. Have there been any attacks? Has there been any trading? Have there been any police interactions? Like this guy right here, this katana, had an interdiction. This cop right here checked him out and says, "Do you have any bad stuff on hand?" Well, he does not, because he doesn't have anything in his inventory. I know he doesn't, because I can go here and say, do you have anything in inventory? No, you don't. But if he had illegal goods, then this cop would tell him, "Hey, you've got illegal goods." And you would be asked to decide whether or not to drop the cargo or try to get the hell out of there. And next up is behavior. So we have our captain with his skill, and then the number of subordinates, and then we have a formation option here. We have access to all the formations because we are a 5-star pilot, but not every pilot is 5-star. Most of them are not. And so some of these options will not be available to them. So for example...
Please halt. We will be scanning your inventory.
Your inventory, okay. I can pick only 0-star formations because my captain absolutely sucks rocks. Holy crap. He's a 0-star pilot. So he's got the option to do a circle, a line abreast, line astern, or semicircle. I, on the other hand, I can be a point guard if I want to. No, I can do all of these other options here. And what that will do is that will form up my fleet to suit that particular arrangement. So if I have a particular plan in mind for going into combat based on where I have my ships, then this will be useful in figuring that out. So if I go to, let's say, Echelon, here they go. Now they're going to reshape their positions to suit the Echelon formation. Echelon formation is always a reverse echelon, so they start with me here, and now they're moving. They should line up behind me. I guess that's a forward echelon formation, not a reverse echelon. I think there is an option for that if I'm remembering right.
Scan is clear. You're free to go.
Maybe not. Maybe it's V-shape. Oh, I bet it's V-shape. V-shape, I think, is the one where it's reverse echelon. Anyway, that does not matter. Okay, then we have no active orders. We don't have orders available to us because we are the pilot. You can't give yourself orders. We'll look at orders in just a minute. And then finally, we have individual instructions, which is a lot of information about how the pilot is supposed to react to certain things when they occur. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the Cobra real quick, and we're going to go back through this and look at some more stuff here in a little bit more detail. There's a lot more going on with these medium ships, so there's a lot more stuff happening here. You can see a whole bunch of different weapon types, or weapon locations, fore, aft, starboard, port, aloft, and below, and how much damage they can do in those various locations. We have this captain here, who's pretty crap. We can replace the captain with the best crew member if it's not him. Let's do that. Oh, look, Leo Disma is so much better. And we've got our subordinates. And then down here, we have our crew on the ship. Right now, we have 22 service crew and 3 Marines. And each type has 3 levels: apprentice, able, crewman, and specialist, recruit, veteran, and elite. And then down here, we have the full crew list. And it shows all of our Marines, and then it shows all of our service crew, and it shows their skill levels. Because this was a custom game start, they gave me a lot of really good guys here, so that's pretty handy. But you can get even more detail if you want. You can see this service crew is really good in engineering, has high morale, but is very bad at boarding, very bad at management, and very bad at piloting. Versus Yana Nasser, who is great at boarding and has decent morale, but is also shit at management and engineering, and is okay as a pilot. And we see here Leo Disma, the new pilot, 2-star pilot, 4-star in morale, pretty good in engineering. That's why he was a service crew guy before. He's a better pilot than the other pilot was, but he's definitely was designed. He's kind of trained as an engineer. Okay, next over we have our loadout, which you can see now we've got a lot more weapons. We have 3 mass drivers. They're all on the primary. So if I were flying that ship and I hit my primary weapon button, all 3 would fire at the same time. If I didn't want to do that, if I wanted to say, for example, only fire one of them, I would do that. And then if I switched to the second group, then the other 2 would fire, or I could have it all 3. But you can set that up however you want. And you can set it up here, and then when you switch to that ship and you are in that cockpit, it will match this. The NPC pilots don't really use this information. They'll just fire how they want to fire. They don't really need to focus on how this is set up. What does matter is the turret behaviors. So medium ships and larger can have turrets, and they can be set in certain ways. So you can have them all set to defend, attack all enemies, attack only capital ships, all the way down to mining, if it's a mining beam turret, attack my current enemy, and so on. You can set all at once, or you can send them specifically to set them up by particular turret, and you can have them be armed or disarmed so that you will either fire or just not fire at all, depending on how you want to set it up. If your ship has drones, you can identify what your drones will do. In this case, the defense drones are just defending, but they could do other options as well. How many of them are active? 0, because there's no combat right now, so they don't need to be out. And they are currently armed so that they will actually shoot out of the ship and go do their job if they get if the ship gets attacked or gets involved in combat. Then we have our subordinate control, which is the alpha group. Currently set to attack, but I could set it to intercept. And it is currently launched. He's got some countermeasures, and here's the loadout. Logbook, he got the police interdiction that one time, and that was about it. And then over here, we've got behavior and then individual instructions. So I'm going to go to individual instructions first and then come back to behavior because this is the meat. This is the meat of the map, which is the meat of the game. So, individual instructions. How does the ship react to events? You can have it use the default setting, which is to use its own judgment, or you can tell it to do something specific. So, if it gets attacked, does it use its judgment, or do we always have it retaliate, or escape and deploy laser towers, or escape, or ignore? Default response to found abandoned ship, default response to found lockbox, and so on. If there is an automatic, if there's a resupply ship in the fleet, how does it respond to automatic resupply? Yeah, I know you're waiting. Just hold on. You can have it blacklist so that when it's doing its job, it can avoid certain sectors or avoid doing certain things in certain sectors. For example, no. Don't think there's settings. Oh yeah, I'll have to set those at some point to show that. But you basically would set, where is that? Where do you go? There we go. Global orders. You can set different order types. We'll get to this eventually. It'll be a while, but we'll get there eventually. That you can use to set up special behavior responses to certain things. All right. Blacklists for what ships what sectors they'll avoid and so on. You can again set up blacklists for that yourself. Fire authorization overrides and trade loop cargo reservations. All of these things can be set up as needed. And then finally, behavior. So here is where you're going to do a lot of your control of your NPC ships. Like I mentioned, you can't do anything for yourself because you are you. But your other ships can be told to do certain things. Now, right now, because they are in a group, they can't do too much other than just what the group has them do. So in this case, their current role is to attack. But if I remove the assignment and pull him out, so he's now just his own fleet. So I have my fleet with my little katana, or my big katana, I guess, and the Cobra has a fleet with a little asp. And just FYI, I can rename these fleets if I'd like. Oh, this is my snake fleet. Snake fleet. And then this one is my not snake fleet. There we go. Okay. Anyway, so Cobra. This is where I go to set up my default behaviors. And these are the options I have. Again, they are dependent on the level of the skill level of your pilot. But I can have it do any of these things. I can have it patrol, police, protect position, protect ship, protect station. If it's a mining ship, I can have it do different kinds of mining. Or different levels of mining, really. Navigation, I can have it dock, fly and wait, fly to an object, follow a ship, hold a position. If it's a salvaging ship, it can auto-salvage. If it's a trading ship, it can auto-trade. I can also have it do repeat orders, so I can do a repeat orders and then tell it to do a sequence of things, which will then cycle through over and over and over again until I tell it to stop. So, here's a couple of examples. So right now, he is in hold position. Let me go ahead and give him a protect station. So now I'm about to select... Oh, nope, wrong way. Left click. Let's discard that. Hang on. Protect position. Protect station. Here we go. Oh, no, wait. Am I doing this wrong? Oh, no, I am doing this wrong. Haha. Yes. Let's do this. Let's do this correctly. protect station, click, then left select the station, or right click and select. There we go. Okay. One more time. Done correctly. Protect station, click to select, right click, select, and then confirm. And now that Cobra and his little asp are going to go over here and protect the station, and they're going to do it in this zone. I can also have it just protect a position and have it say over here. Argon Prime, the radius of 40. There we go. I could set the radius smaller. Very tiny little section. Or as much as I can. There. I can tell it to dock and wait over here. I can tell it to fly and wait, fly to an object, follow a ship, hold position, and so on. Hold position, just confirm, and have it even maybe hold fire so it never attacks anything. If I've got orders queued up, I can move them around here. I can even delete them. So I can remove that one so he doesn't end up docking there. The more orders you have, it will just list them here in the queue, and then you can move them up and down. There's little arrows that you can use to move them around. And that's basically how you control these ships with their default behaviors. But you can also give instructions on the map. So if I have this Cobra here, I can say, let's go and right-click, fly and wait, dock and wait, attack, coordinate attack, which I'll talk about in a second, attack multiple objects, upgrade and repair, sell a ship, or attack certain elements, or trade. If I am targeting a wharf, upgrade and repair becomes available, or if I'm targeting an equipment dock, or if it's a bigger ship, if I'm targeting a shipyard, that becomes available. Whoops. Coordinated attack will be used if you have multiple ships that you've selected and you right-click and do a coordinated attack. They will all converge on the target, gather together, and then attack. If you just use regular attack, and as soon as one of them comes into range, it starts attacking. So if they're coming from all over the place, it's probably better to coordinate the attack. That way they're not all just like throwing themselves to death up against the thing one at a time. If I tell it to dock and wait, it'll go and dock and wait. Let's say we want it to dock and wait. And then let's say we want it to go over to here. We can right-click, fly and wait. And now it'll dock and wait, and then fly and wait. If instead I want it to fly first over there, I can arrow up, and now it will fly and wait first. So it's going to hit the ribbon, it's going to come down the ribbon here, and then fly over here, and then it's going to go and dock. I can take this target that I've selected here, this spot, I can grab it, and I can move it over to there. And now it will fly to here, and then it will go over and fly and dock at the wharf. If I delete the dock auto, the dock and wait will still be there. The dock auto existed because that order was the first step in docking and waiting. And since I didn't remove it, it just moved around when I moved the fly and wait. So let's go ahead and do another fly and wait. And we'll move that up. See, the dock appeared because it reached a target first and then started to dock. So now we can get rid of that. Now we do fly and wait. And then dock and wait. There we go. A couple of other options we can do here with your right-click method. We can explore, update trade offers, collect drops, or attack targets in range. So, if I have enemies that are in a zone that I want to go and just have it constantly, well, not constantly, but attack for a little bit and then stop, I can attack targets in range, and then it will just try to do that. It can't do anything right now because there's no enemies in range, and so it immediately stops. But if there were enemies there, it would start attacking them. That is similar to, but not the same thing as protect position or protect ship or protect station or patrol or police, which is enforcing the law for, checking for contraband and stuff. It's not the same as these because these are default behaviors and they will maintain what they're doing until you tell them to stop. If you just say attack targets in range, as we saw, it'll try, and as soon as it can't anymore, it'll stop, or it'll stop after a certain amount of time. The other thing I can do is have it explore. So if I have it explore here, it will use that as the centerpiece for where it's going to be exploring the zone. And it will just go around and look for all their other stations and then just kind of make a beeline to each place that it knows about once it's done some scanning, and it can essentially reveal more of the map for you. You can also tell it to do less or do all of it, and so on. All right, and now for the very last thing we're going to look at. We're going to go, and we're going to go hop around the ribbon. We're going to get on the ribbon, and then we're going to go do a circuit so you can see other parts of the map just a little bit. We won't spoil too much, but you'll see how the ribbon works. Oh, and that's one thing I should show you. I've been using travel drive, which makes it so that I go really, really fast, right? So, oops, I did that wrong. There we go. My max speed in this ship right now is, what, 247? If I hit my travel drive, which is on a switch on my throttle, but could also be a key press or mode travel or shift 1, as you see. This will put me into travel mode, which makes me go at my very max speed, which is much, much faster. And because I have it so that the ships maintain speed while I'm in the map, I can go to the map, I can take a look at what I'm doing. Check this out. That's me. There's my katana in the Not Snake fleet. He's following me because he's part of my fleet, as we can see right here. Okay, so I'm going to get up close. I'm going to slow down and stop. And I'm going to describe what we're looking at. First up, there is this.
Jump gate, second contact.
This is a jump gate that goes to second contact. Right down here. When we pass through this gate, it's going to put us into second contact right here. This semi-Japanese stuff here is just kind of fluff. It doesn't really do anything. It's just sort of a piece of, I don't know, cyberpunk. It's a bit of cyberpunky stuff that's right there. The reason it's kind of Japanese adjacent is because of the history of the universe and how the humans arrived in this area. There's a really great series of novels that were written in the universe that talks about this, and earlier games also go into detail about that stuff. So if you are interested in understanding why the language here is basically Japanese type, then it's worth taking a look at those things. It is readable in English, and it's a little problematic, but the red dragon, we can see that. But there is a reason why it looks like that. So I'm going to go ahead and fly onto the ribbon. You can see it's got two sides. One side goes that way, the other side goes the other way. We're going to hit the ribbon here. And now we're going. And we're going to watch. And of course, it has to autosave right at the most exciting time.
Entering system. Second contact.
So here we are, going through the map. Revealing parts of it as we go.
Entering system. True sight.
So you can see this ribbon
You won't be able to hold out against us.
is a highway that goes around this ring in the middle of the map area.
Entering system. Holy vision.
And we are picking up information about some parts of these sectors, but not all of it, because obviously we haven't seen what's out here. And we're just going to go around and around and around. And around and around and around. Now,
Entering system.
the reason I did that was to show you one last thing before we go, which is the better way to do exploration. So I've pulled off the exploration right there.
Entering system. Highest mists.
If I want to explore Second Contact 2 Flashpoint, the best way to do that is by picking an entry gate that leads to it. Take the ship I want to use for that exploration, and then right-click on that gate and do Explore.
Entering system. Unholy retribution.
That will put the center of the exploration directly in the center of that sector and expand out from there. Now, these sectors are essentially functionally infinite. So if I take a ship and fly this way, I
Entering
won't
system.
cross over to the
Trinity
next sector.
Sanctum.
I will just keep expanding this hex on the map. And everything else will shrink as I go farther and farther away. Because these aren't really right next to each other. They are quite a bit of a distance from each other. That's why the jump
Entering
gates exist.
system. Right promise.
So it's always best to explore from the center, and the best way to find the center is by doing an
Entering
exploration
system. Profit center
onto
Alpha.
a gate that leads to the sector you want to explore. If I did it to this one, which I could do right now here, it would actually go back and explore Argon Prime. And you can see here, I've got now 2 explorers in the queue, and I could do one before the other. There we go. And now it will explore in Argon Prime first, and then come back to Second Contact to
Entering
Flashpoint.
system. Silent
Now, where am
witness.
I? I have been going around the highway ribbon here, bup, 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 and I'm nearly all the way back around.
Entering system. Atikva's choice.
There's an enemy. There's a little Xenon bad guy. There's a trading station. I think we've got some more down here. Yeah, there's a Paranid Wharf over here. There's a Paranid Wharf over here. Talati Wharf. Equipment dock. And we are back in
Entering
Argon Prime.
System. Argon Prime.
All right, flying off of the ribbon so we don't continue to go. There we go. And while this guy chats over my closing comments, I'm just going to say next time we'll be looking at missions and be working in the map again. But of course, we got to move on from that. But like I said, the map is really where a lot of the game is played. And so we'll be looking at missions in the map and also missions and the way that you can get them from here. But really, you're going to do all of your mission selection from the map. Much, much easier to do it that way. Much easier to find them. So, thanks for watching. See you next time.